It has been far too long since the Burb has been out on a trip, and I am really fired up to be up here in the Eastern Sierras with some good buddies. Came up last night. We are at Tuttle Creek outside of Lone Pine. So around that corner up there is Mount Whitney, which is the tallest peak in the continuous United States. And over that way is Death Valley, with the lowest point in the United States. California is awesome. I don't know if you guys knew that, but California is amazing. So we're going to explore the Eastern Sierras today. The plan is to head over to the White Mountains. So you got the Sierras on this side, you got the White Mountains on that side. And over in the White Mountains are some trees called bristlecones. And these trees are the oldest known living organisms on the earth, apart from like viruses and fungi and stuff like that. Some of these trees are close to 5,000 years old. They just look like gnarled stumps, but they're still alive and they're growing, and we're gonna go check them out and camp up there at around 11,000 feet tonight. I'm super stoked on that. It's a bucket list for me. And then tomorrow we're gonna come down from the Whites into Bishop, which is near Mammoth, and then we're gonna head up to Coyote Flats, which is once again another high 11,000 foot campsite up on this beautiful plateau. Never been to that. Really looking forward to it. The Burb is doing great. I got the new clutch in, I've got the new fuel pump, I've got the new coolant, and we're looking good. So you guys remember some of the clutch issues I've had. I'm on my third clutch, and after this last time, I really had to question some life decisions about how I had done this, because I didn't want to keep pulling this transmission and drivetrain in and out. It is a holy nightmare. So I reached out to Trent over at Centerforce, and he gave me a bunch of good advice about clutches and fitting them and measuring and pressure plates and all that stuff. And we settled on a Centerforce dual friction HD clutch for the Tremec and the Cummins. I installed it. It's probably got 2,000 miles on it now, and it's doing fantastic. I followed every protocol during the break-in, and we switched from a shift fork assembly to a hydraulic throwout. So what that does is, so here's my slave cylinder, my master cylinder, right? This is the Wilwood master cylinder for my clutch pedal, and that line goes all the way down into here. Let's dive under the truck and I can show you. Okay, you see that line going in there? That is the hydraulic line going to the input shaft off of the transmission, or the main shaft off the transmission. The collar sits around this intermediate shaft that is in here, the drive shaft that's in there. And when you apply pressure to the clutch pedal, fluid flows through this line all the way down to that hydraulic throwout bearing that then extends and pushes the throwout bearing into the pressure plate fingers, releasing the pressure plate from the clutch disc and the flywheel. So that's fundamentally how that works. And having a hydraulic throwout instead of having a shift fork assembly means that there's less moving parts in there. Here, let me just climb up out from underneath the truck, because people are giving me strange looks. I finally had the chance, after getting everything put together, to really get this cross member dialed in. I needed something burly and strong that wasn't going to let it move around, even though it's at an awkward angle. So I whipped this up, and I'm super happy with how it's been performing. I've got no leaks anymore, no rattles, no vibrations. Yeah, pretty psyched. This is the lift pump that was on the side of the 12-valve Cummins block. This is basically the fuel pump for the Cummins. So how it works is there's a lobe on the cam that this rod, I've got it in, maybe it in backwards, but this rod rides up and down on, and it plunges and sucks fuel. So it lifts the fuel from the tank up to the injectors. It's got the plunger on the back, so mechanically you can pump it if you need to prime it, which I have done many times, because I often lose prime, which is a pain to get with the Cummins engine. But that's a story for another day. So all of that was down there on the engine, and that has all come off in exchange for the AirDog system that I just showed you. Here's the AirDog pump and filter. So it has the pump and filter all in one unit. So you've got the water fuel separator, you've got the fuel filter and the pump all condensed, and it's a pressure driven pump. So it's trying to regulate and maintain pressure. So instead of, basically that lift pump is going to tap out at a certain point or become unpredictable as you apply more power or more needs to it. Whereas the electric fuel pump by design is going to try and keep up with the demand and keep that regulator at a certain pressure. And let's just show you how it works. There is my fuel pressure. Turn on the pump. And there's my pressure. And here is the pump running. And you hear how quiet that is? It's a beautiful thing. So, and then I can drain when I need to from this drain valve right there, any excess water that's pulled from the system. So fuel pump system primed. Yeah, very, very happy with this. Here's all the hardware that came in the box, minus the brackets that's already on the truck. And there's the pump and filter itself and the lines, and just a quick glance at all the fittings they give you. Very thorough. This is pretty cool. Customer service O-ring kit. I guess if I need to service it, which hopefully I don't, but yeah. Start putting this thing together, getting my fueling up. The AirDog system is mostly mocked up in place. Here, I'll dive under first and show you. Let's roll under the truck together, huh? Okay. There is the filter and the water separating filter and the pump up on top. And then my lines are all already ran. This big guy right there is my supply side. This goes to the engine. I'll show you where that goes in a second. I've got coming from the tank right there, and then I've got a return right here, right there, that dumps back in to the tank through. You see that? Why can't I get it? Let me get a little closer. That junction right there. So here's the top of the pump with on the inside of the frame rail here. And this is where I am going to be plugging in the fuel pressure gauge. The P pump and the return line right down here that is now ran back to that brass junction right there. And that is my injector return line. That tees into that brass union and back into my return line that naturally runs back to the tank. This is in addition to the line off of the pump that returns to the tank. That's at the pump and filter down below. 3 things that you can do to help out Merricks Garage. First, go to my website. Second, go to my Amazon store. Third, click like and subscribe. My website has all my merch, stickers, consulting, and all the products from the roll cage to the light bar to the seat brackets. Also, my Amazon store will have a full list of products I use, recommendations, things I like, and anything you purchase on Amazon, I get a little kickback for, which helps me just keep producing content for you guys. And finally, click like and subscribe and drop me a comment down below. Believe it or not, YouTube pays attention to that, and it makes me feel really good about myself. It wouldn't be Merricks Garage if the burp wasn't on the side of the road getting fixed. Right, guys? Woo! Yay! Okay, we're having overheating issues, not even towing. So something's going on that I don't know. But we pulled the hood. And the hood is now in this truck. And we're climbing, we're at like 5,000 feet? Something like that. We're climbing to 11. and
She's gonna do it topless.
And yeah, she just took her top off.
The
So
cream puff comes through.
it's gonna be an adventure. So first and foremost, we're at about, how high are we? 9,000? 9,000 feet elevation probably, right? More or less. We are in the bristlecone pine forest. I don't know if these are bristlecone pines or not, but we're gonna go see some really old ones. But the amazing news, the burb is cooling. All of a sudden, it's fixed itself. I've been dealing with this problem for about 4 years, as you know if you've watched my videos. And so we're coming up this grade up to this. So it's climbed from 4,000 feet to 11,000 feet. So it's substantial, but the temperature just spikes and just keeps going until I pull over and let it cool like we just did. So we pulled the hood. We've already pulled the thermostat back down in Lone Pine. And we had a couple quarts of oil. It was a little low on oil. And I think, I don't want to jinx it, but I think I may have had an air pocket somewhere in the block. Because this last 3,000 feet we just climbed, I was pulling third gear. We're doing like 30, 40 miles an hour, and the temperature is dropping. I've never seen it do that up a hill. It never drops. And it was like 210, and we're climbing, and it got all the way down to 196. So I'm cautiously optimistic. So is the rest of the monkey crew. They're sick and tired of waiting for my sorry ass. I warned you!
But I've got a new Squarebody hood.
I warned you guys. I said, I'm gonna be a liability. And they were like, come on! I'm like, okay. My buddy Pat has been exploring California and the Southwest for years and just has a deep knowledge of this area, of all the little gems hidden back here, ghost towns, old mines, dirt roads, you name it. And so anytime he puts a trip together, I do my best to come on it because I know there's going to be some beautiful scenery, some remote areas, and things I would have never found out about by myself. So once again, big shout out to Pat and the rest of the crew for putting this trip together. This was a really, really cool surprise. I wasn't expecting to find these dirt roads and these aspen groves and all this killer stuff as we explored back into the White Mountains on the border of Nevada and California. Really cool trip. The trucks fit. It was very, very tight at a couple points, but we all brought our tow rigs and daily drivers, and we were going to make sure we got to camp all right. Really cool trip again. Thanks, guys. Now, Cali had monster snowfall this past winter, and it's still making itself known. We encountered a lot of water crossings. A lot. Some of them were deep, some of them were wide, some of them were just kept on going. But we probably did about 30 water crossings, which was incredibly encouraging. Living in SoCal, we need water, and to see this much water still up in the high country was encouraging. Creeks were flowing, water was present everywhere, and things were still kind of green. So, very, very encouraging. We are down at a sweet little spot off of, we'll call it Cotton Creek. That should get you guys close enough. We're at about 9,000 feet. aspens everywhere. It's been a tight double track down to here. Bunch of creek crossings. Burb got some good pinstripes, but most importantly, it hasn't overheated at all. So really psyched. We're gonna set up camp. We're gonna be here for the night. But you guys, oh man, this is why we build these trucks. So we are making some progress on the cooling issue, because without a hood on, it does great. And even with the hood on today, it did fairly well. What I think is happening is when it is hot outside, it just bakes in here because there's nowhere for the heat to leave. And that exhaust is radiating probably 600-700 degrees. It's a lot of heat to try and get rid of. And yeah, hopefully this works to get us up to Coyote. It worked to get us up to the Bristlecone Flats yesterday, so yeah, we should be good. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Well, with the hood off and up here at Coyote Lake in the Sierras, I think it'll be a good time to walk through what has been done to the burb and what has worked and what hasn't. So since I did a deep dive on this with the last towing video, I have gone through and I flushed all the coolant. It wasn't actually coolant, it was mostly water, out of the radiator and out of the block. And I swapped over to Evans waterless coolant, which just, it's great stuff. It doesn't boil. Well, its boiling temperature is around 340 degrees. So you essentially don't make pressure in the coolant system. So I also bypassed my heater lines, so those aren't leaking anymore. I put a new fueling system on from AirDog. You can see the return T-junction down there. I ran a new alternator line and I replaced the clutch to that new Centerforce clutch. Clutch is in, pilot bearings in, clutch alignment tool is being in and removed, everything's torqued down. Done all my measurements. Get this thing back in. And there's the AirDog under there. Yeah, so there's been quite a lot of updates. And well, yeah, we see I lost my power step on that side today. I know you guys like these, and I've been asked a lot of guys if I can sell the bracket I made that enables it to do that. And until I've got it perfected, I don't feel comfortable selling it. So as you'll see, I lost one today. It broke off from just rattling. We did a lot of rocks and bumps, and this thing got a good shakedown, literally. So yeah, good news is I'm working on this bracket, and hopefully I can get it available relatively quickly. The oil that you're seeing is coming from this return line right there. It's difficult to get a wrench in on that guy, but it has been coming loose for some reason, and it came loose today. But apart from that, she did great. Yeah, the cooling seems to be somewhat resolved. I know it's a huge thing to take the hood off, but I'm really thinking that if I can get some airflow, either with a custom cut and modified hood or a cowl hood, yeah, I think that could make a big difference. Come on, Mongo.
Mongo stick smash. Mongo smash. Don't like big stick. Big stick. Right? Ah! Dog. Mongo try again. Ah! My eye. Mongo break stick.
Mongo King. Yeah, you're king of something, that's for sure.
That'll be on the YouTube.
Back from our trip to the Sierras, and stoked to say that the Burb made it back under its own power. In fact, it just cruised. I mean, I don't think we turned it off from the moment we left camp at Coyote till the time we got home to Santa Barbara. So 800 miles total trip in 4 days. The Burb probably did 30,000 feet of climbing.
Well, obviously we took the hood off and then put it back on, and then took it off and put it back on.
We got really good at doing that.
And we got really efficient
Dude,
at
we were
it.
like
Basically
F1 pit crew.
Basically a pit crew.
Just bang, 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 off, bang, 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 on. It was that good.
But yeah, like you said, once we took it off, it felt like all the heat just like immediately just emitted out of all of it.
Yeah.
So it worked great after that.
Yeah. Oh, I did lose my airbag cradle, where the airbag nests into. That I lost those somewhere. I have a pretty good idea. I hit a water crossing at about 40, and we caught air.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, we had some significant rebound. There was a water bar on the other side of the crossing that I wasn't able to see. So yeah. But I mean, overall, I torture tested this thing. It did, 10 hours of highway, followed by probably 15 hours of dirt roads. A lot of heat. It was hot down in the valley in the 90s, and we were climbing. The dirt roads were everything from gnarly, just like whoops and almost rock crawling type stuff, to just pounding, spine-breaking washboards. So this thing got picked up and just shook, and it's doing great. So I'm happy with it again. I almost thought I was going to be selling it when we couldn't stop it overheating.
So tell us about, I guess now after taking the hood off and how much that improved, what the plan is for the next steps.
That's a great segue. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, of course.
That's a good question.
Good co-host.
So what I've been able to determine is, and I know everyone's going to answer with, just put mechanical fans in. Yes, that would probably solve the problem because I wouldn't have the deadhead issue I'm having, but what it doesn't solve is the space. I don't have space to put a cooling fan in there, a mechanical fan. So by taking off the hood, I was able to determine that yes, my radiator can keep up. It is effectively cooling the engine. And the fact I had to turn off the fans a couple times because it just kept getting too cold. I'd be down to 160. So that was huge to discover that it is most likely heat soaking. You got to consider that while any diesel engine does like heat, once they get up to operating temperature, they actually run better, more efficiently, but they also create a lot of heat. The turbo gets really hot because it's being spun by the exhaust gases. The exhaust gases entering the manifold are, anywhere between 1,000 and 1,300 degrees, and that cast iron manifold just radiates heat under the hood. So cutting some holes in the hood is, I think, our next course of action. Either turning this into a cowl or doing something cool where we just I'm willing to sacrifice the hood to make something cool. So stay tuned for that. But let's just follow me around real quick and, take a look at what we brought in here. You can see it was definitely packed. Sorry, what's your arm, John? And I had a spare tire with me, full-size spare. All my tools, we had a jack with us. It's dusty and dirty, but I can't complain. So I'm gonna link a video up here of one of my other trips in the burb that was successful. I've had some not successful ones, but this one was successful. So I'm gonna put this video up here of another success. I'm stoked to be back on the trails with this thing. It was a good time, and I'm looking forward to bringing you guys more content and hopefully a final solution for this overheating issue. But final note, California is amazing. I'm a California defender. I love this state. Highest place in the continental US, lowest place in the continental US, oldest trees, all within probably 100-mile radius. So that's a very special little triangle right there, in my opinion. There's something really cool there. Anyway, enough talk about California. Let's get back to building trucks. Merricks Garage.
So the one thing I did do that I forgot to show you guys is this bitchin' cowl hood that we grafted onto the hood of the burb. And it is functional. In fact, I'll show you. So check this out. This actually came off Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan's hood was a disaster, so he got an entirely new front clip. We peeled this off. Check that goodness out. Whoa. My friends are here. Come, my children, do my bidding.